Howdy, folks, and welcome to Cursed Curations Art Rewind. And this lovely series is a spinoff of my History of Art, which will now be called Cursed Curations History of Art, or rather just art, depending how I feel. This particular episode will be covering the art of the 1900s. Mostly because, I'm bored. I feel like this would be a cool, fun way to introduce, some of the stuff I missed. This will be like a part one. I'll come back to even more stuff as time comes on from this decade to things prior. But like last time, I'll be covering statues and paintings. So let's hop into the first thing: Evening Red Tree, or rather, Avant the Road Bloom. I hope I said it right. Probably not. Is an oil on canvas painting by the Dutch artist Piet Mondrian from 1908. It is commonly referred to as the Red Tree. The painting is an expressionist representation of an apple tree with branches that spread wide across the canvas. The Red Tree is the first painting in Mondrian's tree series, which defined an important period of evolution in the Mondrian's work. As he transitioned to neoclassicism, Mondrian used the Red Tree to express his views of nature and reality as a complex equilibrium between harsh motion and quiet stillness. The painting displays non-naturalistic colors and simplified tones of red and blue. The painting is in a collection of the Konsum Museum, The Hague. Okay, let's hop into the background. Prior to 1907, Mondrian's works were considered consistent with the trends of the time and were very well received. Were well received by the public. However, in 1907, Mondrian became unsatisfied and his artwork began to change. Mondrian attended a Vincent van Gogh retrospective in 1905 and drew inspiration from Van Gogh's unconventional use of pure colors in gestural brushstrokes. While undergoing a stylistic shift, Mondrian freely used the subject matter of trees, inspired by the poet Emilio Varien Lebré. I said it also wrong. In the poem, Mondrian saw a shared vision of trees as a powerful source of life, connecting the earth and the sky. Notably, Mondrian painted a leafless tree but emphasized the strong lines and planes so as to not blur the relationship between the articulate lines of the tree and those of the leaf. Throughout the tree series, Mondrian continued to simplify the trees and emphasize strong lines, until the trees appear to be merely vertical lines, and with dispersed horizontal lines as branches, foreshadowing neoclassicism. Okay, composition and interpretation. John Milner has observed that a composition focuses on the conflicting and interconnecting forces of trunk, branches, and surrounding space. Mondrian's tree, much like those of Van Gogh's, rotates in its growth, branching out across the air in smaller twisting extensions. Mondrian uses a firm and solid manner of depicting the trees around. Okay, sorry, I got a little lost there. Depicting the tree in the space around it, allowing the two components to tightly combine across a flat canvas. The way in which the small branches of a tree stretch up and spread across both sides of the canvas generate a cross-like arrangement with nature. The tree remains in conflict as forces of air and light pull it upwards towards growth and expansion, and gravity pulls it down in dispersal and decay. According to Hans Jaffe, the red tree is not a simple impression of a tree, but rather an interpretation of reality as nature as a whole. Throughout a linear structure, contrast the tree's violent movement with our overarching calm of a painting to create balance. Man, they're getting a little deep here, if you ask me. Okay, a little quick little water break. That was a lot for me. Okay. Color and brushstroke. Mondrian's style at the time was characterized by his emphasis on color and his revolt against tonalism. That's a word I haven't heard in a long time. Restricted to red and blue. The red tree represents Mondrian's movement towards non-naturalistic colors. He believed that it was not possible to reproduce the colors of nature on a canvas, and thus looked to pure color to express nature's beauty differently. He relied on color to create spatial contrast and produce images that were not simply descriptive, but also to create a symbolic and evocative effect. This is seen through the intense and suggestive contrast of red forcibly standing out from the receding blue. Mondrian also turned to the application of paint to create depth. His rhythmic and opaque application indicates a greater sense of substance, both in the tree and space around it. His strong but somewhat interrupted brush strokes Brushstrokes, oh my lord, resemble aspects of Pontillist painting. However, rather than creating an optical effect that causes the brushstrokes to blend in the viewer's eyes, the eye, lord, like Epaulism, Mondrian uses larger brushstrokes and two dominant contrasting colors to remove any sense of natural lighting, natural light, and produce a mystical effect. Hey, that looks pretty cool. Kind of reminds me of like Stalin almost, kinda. So let's see this bad boy. Ooh, look at that. The blues. Like, so it talked like a lot about, the blues and the reds, but there is a green, not green, there's yellows in here too, which I think should be mentioned. But I can see what they're talking about, but man, this is just me, but I cannot really understand some of the deeper meanings these guys are trying to, interpret here. To me, like, I can understand a message, like, a tree is of course going up because it kind of has to, but the branches at the the lower half are being pulled down. That's just how gravity do. But meanwhile, at the top, you can see, it's still reaching to expanding. Okay, I now understand what they're going for. The line work is really damn good here. It really feels like a trunk being made here. I do wonder what the yellows were for, though. What does that represent? But that's that lovely painting. Quick little drink of water if we hop back into the next one. Arab Woman is a watercolor painting by the American artist John Singer Sargent, who is a figure we'll be talking about a lot more rather soon. Created in 1905 to 1906. It is in the collection of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. This looks like a card from Magic the Gathering, kinda to me. Prominent American painter John Singer Sargent took two notable trips to Europe, Africa, and Asia during his lifetime. The first trip was to Greece, Egypt, and Turkey in 1890, while the second was to the then Ottoman provinces of Syria and Palestine in 1905. These trips spurred Sargent to create a number of works of art concerning various subjects. Arab Woman was produced by Sargent during his one. Okay, that's such a weird. During one of his travels in West Asia. The image, done in watercolor in gouache on woven white paper, depicts a veiled Muslim woman wearing a white niqab. I most definitely said that wrong, so I do apologize if I had anybody about that one. According to an inscription left by Sargent on a painting, the work is incomplete. Really? Also, if I was actually logged in, I would actually edit this because wow, they really messed up here. But I'll leave it open so I can come back later and edit that. That was silly. First and foremost, this looks so freaking like this reminds me literally of a Magic Gathering card, or at least something from a tabletop, like D&D. So something I noticed here is that there is no face. It's obviously it's covered, as it is, with this type of covering and wearing. But it's like, wow, it might actually be incomplete. Makes me wonder. Well, I suppose that's kind of like the mystery behind it, and I do think it adds to it, and like the wall here. He did go on the wall, stone. This is really well done. So John Singer Sargent is actually a character I really do like in history of art, and I talked about him like numerous times now on this. Just me and sometimes Oz. When he was still here, we covered him a few times, and his art is always good. So I will just I will leave this here. I do need to edit this. This was silly. So where was I? Yes. Our last art piece, or rather painting piece of the day. By the Fireside is a painting by the American Impressionist Henry Salem Hubel, completed in 1908. Hubel painted the work while living in Giverny, France, as a part of the American Impressionism movement that had taken up residence there. Alongside Claude Monet, the models for the paintings were Marjorie Gain and Grace Southwick, two acquaintances of Hubel, who visited Giverny during the winter of 1908 to 1909. It displays Hubel's impressionistic use of loose brushstrokes and masterful color work, in an appreciable evolution from his first known painting, Mother and Child, after W. Bourdieu. The painting premiered at the 1909 Paris Salon, receiving critical acclaim. While learning under James Whistler, his teacher had stated that one day you will be called a great colorist, and the Paris press agreed that Hubel had reached the pinnacle of it with his work. Seeing it right here, oh yeah, it's damn good. By the Parasite was one of Hubel's favorite works, and he kept it for himself during his lifetime. A year before his death, he donated painting in 1948 to his high school in Lawrence, Kansas, now Liberty Memorial Central Middle School, to inspire future growth of the arts there. Oh, this is actually the first time I actually heard of an artist who actually gave it to us like a full on regular school, and not like in like an art school or like a museum or something like that. That's pretty cool. Hopefully, it's it's still there and it's protected, because it's around a bunch of kids, and kids like to destroy shit, But let's get a good look on this bad boy. Ah, I see this and I'm like, wow, Skyrim. There's a boss, and there's the ladies. First and foremost, he captured the human physique perfectly. If I was far away, I'm like, oh wow, that's a weird picture there. It makes me wonder how long these ladies were just sitting there, because I imagine after he gets the outline and maybe some rough stuff over the regions where their clothes are, he doesn't really need them to sit anymore, or maybe he did. I'm not too sure. I'm not an artist like that. Done some digital stuff, but nothing at all like this. This is amazing. I think the thing I love the most is attention to detail to the background. Yes, the lighting on this lady in particular is so well done. It's the background is really where it's at to me. But let's go to the actual the money shots here, if you will. 1 second. The Great Warrior of Montauban, or Montauban, not sure, is a bronze sculpture by Antoine Bardel. It was commissioned in 1897 by the village of Montauban. I don't know what the hell to call it. To commemorate the Franco-Prussian War. It was modeled in 1898 to 1900 and cast in 1956. Oh, that's a big gap. It is an edition of 10. Number 3 is at the Hochfjord Museum and Sculpture Garden. It appeared in Life magazine. Interesting. I wonder if we'll actually see it, throughout our journey. We probably will eventually. Let's get a bigger look at this bad boy. So you see, I want to see if this is a sword or some sort of club. I'm not really too sure. Look at that big ass hand, dude. And then we have them all posed up here. Okay. I see what they're really going for, kinda, I guess. I'm just trying to understand why his hand is so fucking massive. He is sculpted, though. Well, literally in this case. Okay. The Nicholas Carpicanus, or I cannot say that word, I'm sorry. Monument in Krakow is a notable landmark of Krakow, Poland, and memorializes the astronomer Copernicus. I cannot say that word. Copernicus. You know what? That's what we're going with. Who studied at the Krakow Academy, and whose father came from that city, then the capital of Poland. The statue designer by sculptor Cyprian Gobitsky in 1899 was completed in 1900. It originally stood in the courtyard of the Jagiellonian University's Collegium Maius. In 1953, it was moved to Krakow's Planty Park, in front of a Collegium Waskowski building. These are Polish words. I can't. Now this one looks really cool. It makes me, it could have been like it could have been like raining at the time, and maybe like it is caused this. But like, is this a scar or is it left over from rain, or maybe some damage to the statue? These are a lot of questions. But oh man, this feels like something from a video game. That's what I'll say immediately. I dig it though. This is, man. What's about to say about the Polish people is like their statues and their buildings. They're all so beautiful. This admiring the sculpting on this bad boy. But anywho, enough admiring the greatness. Let us go to our final piece of the day. The Blake statue. Delicious water. The Blake statue in Bridgewater, Somerset, England, was unveiled in 1900 to commemorate the naval commander Robert Blake. The hollow bronze life-size sculpture was crafted by F.W. Pomeroy. It is a Grade 2 listed building. From what I understand, the UK grades each of their historical artifacts and buildings and stuff through a certain manner, and that's how protected they may be for one reason or another. I'm not really sure how it works, but that's how they do it. The hollow bronze statue was made by F.W. Pomeroy at a cost of £200. It was I think it's what it's it's called its currency. It was unveiled in 1900 by Lord Brasley. Brassey? I'm not sure. Pomeroy was a prolific British sculptor of architectural and monumental works. He was one of the so-called new sculptors, identified by Edmond Gozet in 1894, a group distinguished by a stylistic turn towards naturalism in their work in architectural sculpture. It was erected to commemorate the 300th anniversary of the birth of Robert Blake. £200 had been raised from the public donation to fund the statue. Blake was one of the most important military commanders of the Commonwealth of England, and one of the most famous English admirals of the 17th century. He was elected as a member of Parliament for Bridgewater in the short Parliament. When the English Civil War broke out during the period of a long Parliament and had failed to be re-elected, Blake began his military career on the side of the parliamentarians. I probably said that wrong. Despite having no essential experience as military or naval matters, Blake was appointed General at Sea in 1649. That's how it works out sometimes, doesn't it? During the First Anglo-Dutch War, and Anglo-Spanish War, Later, he was made Lord Warden of the Cinque Ports. The statue was moved to its current site in 1986, having previously stood in the front of the Corn Exchange. Okay. Architecture. The hollow bronze statue depicts Blake dressed as a parliamentary soldier, with his right arm outstretched and with a sword in his left hand. The brick dais is surrounded by granite steps. The inscription on the front of the plinth says, Robert Blake, born in this town, 1598, died at sea, 1657. Other three sides record his naval victories. Okay, that's some pretty cool history for this really cool figure. Let's see his awesome statue. I do wish that it showed, obviously the person who took a picture of this is, probably shorter or whatnot. But it's clear it's taken from an angle, and I don't really care for the angle. But this is all way up in the air, so I understand now. Robert Blake, born in his town. Okay, yeah, it's as they said. This is like a rotunda of some sort here. Okay. Sword. I wish more statues had swords. I'm weird like that. But overall, I think this is a pretty good statue. If only I could see the face a bit better. I wonder if it could matter if I climbed it. Probably. That might require arresting. But overall, this is a pretty cool episode. It was the first one of this Rewind series I've been talking about for a while now. I'll go back for each series and talk about stuff. This is just the first of many that it's like infinite content to me where I can just keep doing this stuff. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe for more, and peace.